Can we just be kids again? Laughing, holding hands, merry-go-round romance, jump into forever land. No matter the quest, I'm with you to the end. Ooh, through the tears and smiles, rain, sunshine, the clouds. Ooh, can we just thank God for the middle? Cause only death can part, but thank God for now.
Baby, let's have a scene it now. We can do the dash show, we can slow down. I think we found our rhythm now. Only death could part us, but thank God for now. All is fair in love and war, okay, I know that's true. Some may pray on us, but we just pray through. Baby, let's take the scene. We can do the dash show, we can slow down. What if we laughed at the things the enemy tried to kill us with? Refuse to hold a grudge even for a little bit.
Welcome to the Til Death Do Us podcast. We're here today with the Brazeltons.
Yep.
In Maryland.
Yes.
How you liking so far?
I like it.
You like it?
Yes.
Sun's out?
The sun's out.
Have you
Sun's
had crabs
shining.
yet?
No, I haven't.
Well, we're excited about today's conversation. As you guys know, we're here to get you to laugh at what you're possibly mad at right now, because we're committed. We're in this thing till death do us part.
Right.
Through thick
And thin.
Resurrection if necessary.
Whoa.
No?
It's so deep.
But yes, we're here with the Brazeltons, and we're so thankful that you guys decided to join us.
Yeah.
You guys excited to be here?
We're excited about being here. Thank you for having us.
Yes, we're so thankful to have you guys.
Yes.
And always, we just like to start with a simple question, but a good question, which is, where did you guys meet? Where did this marriage start?
I'm going to let you answer that.
Oh, okay. Well, we actually met in a park called Tucker Road. And she saw me and just chased me. And
I thought it would be more fun if you told me.
There's always two stories.
There's always two stories.
And she just saw this handsome man, and she was just overwhelmed.
Wow.
And so she followed me, and that's how the story began.
Wow.
So you're a victim.
What? I pursued you.
You did.
I did.
And I am a victim.
Well, that's probably not how this story happened.
But how did y'all meet, Pastor Cynthia?
Yes, we did meet at a park, and it was
It
Tucker
should have
Road.
happened that way, but it didn't.
And he was actually waiting to play basketball with some guys that was running up and down the court. And so in between the time, I was out there riding my bike around the court.
Okay.
I got off my bike, and he was just shooting around waiting for the next. So I saw him shooting by himself, and I said, hey, you want to play one-on-one?
Oh,
And
you know how to
so-
play basketball?
Yeah, I do. And I was very serious. I wasn't like
Wow.
flirtatious or anything. He said, sure. So we played, and we just talked as we were playing. And then it was time for him to go play. And so he told the guys, no, that's all right. I don't want to play.
Yeah.
And then I got on my bike to leave and go home. He followed me.
Ooh. How old were you?
How old was I? I was out of college.
Okay,
so
okay. Ooh, that's kind of stalkerish, following somebody you
He
don't know.
followed me home.
Did you?
But here's the clutcher with this.
Okay.
I wasn't alone.
I won the game.
I wasn't alone.
You weren't alone.
I wasn't alone. I was with a guy.
Oh, now,
And he
now,
followed, he
okay,
followed
now we're
both.
cooking. Now
followed
we're
both of
cooking.
y'all.
He followed both of us.
Whoa.
Wait, you was with a guy.
Wait, was this your boyfriend at the time?
No. He
Just
didn't
another
know that.
guy. He didn't know that.
Just
But he
a
didn't
relative,
know. But it was
actually.
irrelevant.
Yeah,
It was
he didn't know.
irrelevant.
He didn't care.
He did not.
He
I
didn't
didn't
care.
No.
Wow.
She got on a bicycle, and it was my turn to pick the team and play. But I saw her get on that bike, so I jumped on my bike and I followed him. And she was with another guy. I didn't care who he was. And so I was pretending to be, interested in him, but I was totally interested in her. And so...
You never saw it coming.
Yeah. I didn't care who he was. I was just, I'm following that girl home.
Wow.
She was very friendly. I thought she was just a very pretty. I thought, why is this fine girl talking to me?
Aw,
And
that's so
I said,
sweet.
she's a nice girl. I need to follow her home. So I ended up following her home, and the gentleman, he kept going. I was like, all right, that's good. That's good.
You know, I kind of felt the same way. Why is this fine girl talking to me?
Boy, you better stop. Did you really think that?
I was seeing how Pastor Cynthia was smiling on that whole story. I just wanted to see if I could get, I was just minding my own business. And this fine girl brought me out of my lowly place.
Oh, you were lonely?
Yeah.
That's funny. Y'all are funny.
But yes, how long have y'all been married?
Going on 41 years.
41 years.
41.
And so how long ago was that interaction?
Before they got married.
44 years ago.
43 years ago. So y'all dated for 2 years.
Yeah.
Consistently for 2 years.
Well, you don't call the first year of dating. You're just friends. Yeah.
So friends.
Oh, that's what y'all called it, huh?
So friends at beginning at that basketball court.
I don't think Pastor Tony agrees. He looked at her.
Well, it's a little complicated.
Let's talk about it.
It was a little challenging. No, I was really interested in finding someone who was, I just wanted to talk about Jesus. And so, she happened to be she was interested in Jesus like I was as well. So, and then something strange happened. During that interaction, the Lord spoke to me about her being my wife. And that's when I came home and told my family. And then that's when the whole story changed for both of us.
What?
Tell a story. You
tell the story. I think a lot of people have heard this story, but
when
he said that God spoke to him about me being his wife, it wasn't something in his own prayer time by himself. The Lord spoke to him, nothing like that. Actually, he had taken me out for my birthday for dinner. And our relationship was when we went out together or he would come over, we spent all of our time in prayer and worshiping God, really honestly. And so we're driving, he's driving me home from dinner and we're in the car just worshiping the Lord, just caught up in worship. And while he's worshiping, he said, "What, Lord?" This is out loud. He's talking.
Wow.
"What, Lord?" And whatever the Lord said to him, he said, "Say it again, God." And God must have said it again. He said, "No disrespect, Lord, but can you say that again?" The Lord must have said it again. He said, "You mean to tell me Cynthia's my wife?"
And he said that part out loud, though.
Everything was out loud.
So he wasn't necessarily talking to you.
Not at all. Not at all.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
So she's hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
But the Lord had already spoken to me. And so he says it out loud, and we're still I never opened my eyes. I'm still worshiping, and I'm listening to him too, but praying at the same time. Really, that was not the major focus, although it was a focus. Yeah. But I'm praying. And then we get to my house and we're parked there. And I'm like, wow, we got here quick. I said, how did we get here so fast? He said, I don't know. My eyes was closed. I was like, what do you mean? Your eyes was driving. You're driving. He said, I got caught up. I don't even know how we got here.
Wow.
And so he walked me to my door, said goodnight. We never spoke a word about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Never said anything.
Wow.
Neither one of us.
Which that's the question I was, because that is something that I know I have witnessed. But I was wondering, did that revelation change the interaction?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I think for him, when he went home to tell his family, I found my wife, because his family was really like, there's a lot of girls at church. You're not dating anybody. You see anybody you like, that type of thing. Because all he was about was reading his word and pray. And so he found somebody that does what he does. You know, we just like praying and reading the word. And so he came home and said, hey, I found my wife. And they said, he told him who I was, because I'd never met his family or anything. And they said, oh no, that's not your wife. And they said this other young lady that he used to date that was in the church, they said, that's your wife. And he was like, really?
He was already spoken for.
Yeah, pretty much.
He out here speaking.
Pretty much. So
did you know you were spoken for?
Yeah, he did.
I did not know that.
Pastor Cynthia said they did not. She never met them. They didn't even know her.
No, they didn't even know her. So I didn't take it personally. Like, they don't like. But I think the confusion came, not even confusion, but they told him that. But the young lady had been praying and telling him, the Lord spoke to her and said, yes, you're my husband. So you can imagine he got these seasoned people telling him, this is your wife, and you got this person who wants to be your wife telling you you're a wife. So you begin to question yourself.
Wow.
So he's like, did I really hear from God?
Yeah.
So he wanted to know from me, hey, what did you think about what was said? What did you think about what had happened? What did you think? Did God speak to you about anything? So I never spoke to him about it.
Wow.
I said, that's not my position to tell you that. And whatever God says to me, he's talking to me, not you.
Wow.
You need to make up your mind what you want. And then you don't know if I'm going to say anything. Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
No, I love
it. Go, girl. Period.
Period.
No, I love it because, which I know you guys probably have heard even more than I've heard of, those moments do come up in those interactions. And it is something that, you want people to be prayerful about, seeking God about who they should marry. However, I rarely hear, I don't know if I've ever heard from the woman's side a pushing of affirmation of what the man may have heard. Normally there's almost like a submission to, like regardless of what I hear, if you say you've heard, then that settles it. But I love that you were like, no,
that's good.
If this is what you've heard, and that's why I also asked the question, did the interaction change? Like, was there then like, no?
It was a place of contention but not in our relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. We were still friends. We still did things together. So he didn't have anything against me. I didn't have anything against him. It was all the other people that was always talking to him in his ear, but not mine. So it didn't bother me any. And so they were always talking to him. So he would always come and tell me what they were saying to him. And I would be like a good friend saying, hey, well, if you feel like that's the will of God for your life, you feel like you should marry her, why don't you? I'm being a friend. Like, go ahead, get married. Enjoy his life. Have a great time.
Wow.
If that's what they say.
And he would say things like, I don't love her, though. I said, well, that's between you, her, and God.
Wow. Okay, let's clear this up. I was not dating this girl.
No.
I understand.
No.
Oh. No, he wasn't.
No,
you ain't got to be dating to be spoken for.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's right. He was not dating her.
Dating.
Wow.
Because he was at my house every day.
Oh.
Like every day. Like if he was dating her, he didn't have time to date her. No.
And she was never my girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
No.
So okay.
Well, she was a college person. And then one of the things that I liked about her is because she could cook. And her mother could cook.
Liked about Pastor Cynthia?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I didn't even know whether Pastor Cynthia could cook.
He didn't care.
Well,
no, he did. He asked me that too.
Oh,
he said, can you cook?
Can you cook? I said, you will never know.
I need to weigh this out here. Can you cook? I know you look good, but can you cook?
So I need to weigh this out. I ain't comparing, but
no, I said, you are funny. I was like, can I cook? You'll never know, dude. You're not going to say, oh, she can cook too, so I'm going to marry her. No, that's not the reason. No. that's not happening.
Pastor Cynthia said, me plus nothing.
No, we're not doing that.
The backdrop behind all it was that, my mother, she became a vegetarian, and then she just started, not cooking anymore. Everything was just raw. So I didn't like food anymore. And this young lady could cook. So I ended up meeting her and her brother, and I would go to the house and I would eat. And I enjoyed the food. So that was the relationship I had with her. She was a believer and I wasn't a believer. I wasn't interested in Christian girls because they weren't doing nothing. So I didn't want anything to do with that.
Gotcha.
But somewhere along the line, when I got born again,
okay. Let's pick up there.
I had this encounter with God, and she was just still proud of friends in my relationship. So she felt like maybe I was going to be her man. And my parents, my mother really liked him, and the people around liked this girl. So, but it was never like that. So, and I met her, and then all of a sudden I come home and I shared, hey, listen, I found my wife. Now, you miss God. I miss God. And these were people that I have been like deep intercessors, people that you respect and honor.
Yeah.
So when they tell you that I'm young in the Lord, I'm immature.
Yeah.
And so I just simply believe what they said.
Yeah.
So it changed the dynamics of really my approach to her, because I'm thinking, well, they know better. They know God better than us.
Okay.
So I backed off from her in that respect. And when I did that, my relationship with the Lord changed. I couldn't hear his voice. I didn't have his presence. My life just totally changed. And so after a while, I realized, I'm like, how come you're not talking to me? How come I don't feel your presence anymore? Because honestly, that's what I was going after. And I realized that took place when I made a decision that this girl is not the one for me. And so I just said to the Lord, okay, I'm going to go back when I last heard you. And then all of a sudden his presence came back. I could hear his voice. And that was really the beginning part of what I say that we started even to date at that point. Because before I just looked at her as a friend.
We were just, that's why I was, just like, hey, if you feel like you want to marry her. Right. But we were just friends, And so.
But how old are you? Because I know this word married keeps getting thrown out. Was that
we were just graduated from college.
Yeah, but
So
was that really like the thought though at that point?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. I was so overwhelmed by God. I just wanted to know who this Jesus was. And my pursuit in life was to know him. I would come home from work, open my Bible, and read Bible till I go to bed. And my father would say to me, like, do you know there's all these fine girls in church? What are you doing? And I didn't see anybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I was literally, I couldn't see anybody until I saw this girl on that basketball court.
Let's go.
And honestly, I believe that I followed her home, and that was God.
Yeah.
I got on my bike and I followed this girl, and I wanted to know. But when we first got together and I took her out, I told her then, I said, hey, listen, I'm saved.
Yeah.
So I established the groundwork ahead of time. Because I did have in my mind, this girl is going to make me backslide. I did have that in the back of my mind. I said, God, I'm running for you, but this chick is fine. I'm like, I don't want to go backwards. So the first time I take her out and she's in the car, I said, listen, let's establish it. I said, I'm saved. I love the Lord. And she said, I'm saved too. I was like, okay, we good.
He said up front, let's just sit right here for a second, set some ground rules. But what I'm hearing is so awesome, right? And I really do want to talk about like that space, because it resonates with me, right? But it may not have been the same space. But I asked the question about like, was marriage really your thought, at that moment? And you said, no, I was pursuing a relationship with God.
That's right.
And I do see that, now when I speak to a lot of like this generation or in this time, that those two are conflicting thoughts, that everything they actually see is post-marriage.
That's right.
Like they see marriage as the obstacle to everything God's calling them to be versus, truthfully seeing their relationship with God being substantial. And I don't mean that in a superficial way.
That's right.
Because I could tell when someone's being superficial about it, when they're sitting there saying, no, it's just me and God, and I'm focusing on me and God. I'm like, that's not coming from your heart. That's what you're trying to tell yourself. And I respect you trying to talk to you. But I also, and the reason why it resonates is because although we were laughing, Rashida was the first girl I dated. And it really wasn't a thought for me. I didn't put marriage in the middle or before or a necessary thing for me to pursue what God called me to. It was not there like that. It was genuine is my point. I really was like taken aback. Right. The first thought that crossed my mind, I was sitting there like, I think she really is being for real. Because it was almost like a joking kind of thing.
It was.
And so she literally, I don't even know, maybe.
I was adamant because we were in a group. And Bryan was the only one not talking. And I don't know, maybe it was a sign because he caught my attention because I was like, he's not even talking to everybody. So at the time, one of our friends, I asked her, I said, is Bryan slow? Like, is he like, and she's like, no, he doesn't talk.
I'm still trying to decipher what slow is.
Well, I mean, like, I didn't know what was going on because everyone was talking around you. But anytime we would come around, Bryan wouldn't say anything.
She said slow several times.
And so it intrigued me.
Funny.
It intrigued me. And so I decided, like, I would say, hey, Bryan. And he would go, hey. And he'll put his head down. And I'm like, that's different. So I kept.
No, she would be like, she was like, I'm going to marry you one day. And I just would look at her.
Yeah, I did. I said that after a while because I was like, I'm going to make him laugh or something.
She would just look at me like, I'm going to marry you one day.
I said, you so sweet. I said, I'm going to marry you one day. And he looked, his eyes got big.
And I sat there I said, I think this girl is serious.
This is before he asked me to date him. This is just being friends.
And I'll never forget. I went to my dad.
Oh my God!
I said, I think
I didn't know you did that.
No, I told her. I said, I think I'm marry this girl. And he looked at me, and this was his exact words. My dad is I think it's some of the things he said to me. He said, if it don't work, what you gonna do? That was like, I said, I think I'm gonna marry this girl. This is the first time we're having this conversation.
Wow.
And his first words to me, if it doesn't work, what are you gonna do? And I paused. I said, well, I guess I'll move on. He said, what do you mean by move on? I said, I don't know if I'm ready. And in my mind, I never wanted to be a part of like the games. And so I was like, man, if you jump in the pool one time, if you don't get wet, then don't go again. Just tell yourself they lied to you. The water ain't wet, bro.
Well, I met you. You were 19 years old.
I was 19. So I was young. And I was,
But yeah, it started off as I just wanted you to talk.
Yeah.
And once we started talking, and then we developed and we were friends after that. But I was poking the bear because I just noticed you were always just quiet and to yourself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is interesting. So
yeah,
that's how evolved.
But it's like I say, it really resonated with me because it, I think that's a space that a lot of people aren't comfortable in, and that space of saying, or truly believing that you can pursue God and he understands those desires. They don't have to be, because it wasn't for me. It wasn't a goal. It wasn't even a conversation. It wasn't even a thought in my head. And I just still remember, and Elliot was the first, as funny as that sounds, but Elliot, which was one of my friends, he was the first person. I still remember when I first saw her, she was wearing a Titans jersey. It was a blue jersey. She was coming out of the sanctuary. I said, man, I think I like that girl. And he looked at me, because it's the first time I've uttered words out loud like this, and she had my little recipe, and so I was like, man, I did have a recipe though. I knew what I want, what I was looking for. So she had my recipe.
Don't say it out loud. Go ahead, continue. Sound you say it.
Like a recipe, huh?
I had a recipe.
He has a type.
I just never divulged. You know what I'm saying? You can't, so nobody could cook it. But I had one.
What's happening?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, yes.
Anyway, my point being is that's beautiful to hear, is what I'm saying. Yeah. It's beautiful to hear. And I know that you are being authentic in what you're saying, that wanting to please God, wanting to pursue God. And then, just sounds like to me just meeting this incredible moment to where it's like, man, you met someone that had the same pursuits.
That's so cool. So how long before you guys made it official and you started dating and then you got married?
I don't know. It was like when he came to that come to Jesus moment, Lord, I'm going to get back on the bus where I got off and heard your voice. He said to me that day, I want to marry you.
Wait, he got off of a bus?
No. Yeah. We'll stop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You missed that part.
I got off the bus of what the Lord said to me.
Yeah.
That's your wife. And then when they told me it wasn't my wife, I got off the bus of her being my wife.
Wow.
Okay, off the bus. Okay.
Brian's like,
I thought you backslid it.
No.
Because I was about to have to detach.
No.
I was joining our stories.
No.
So they got married happily ever after?
Yeah, so he proposed like in July. We got married in October.
Okay.
July,
and then the fun starts.
August, September, October.
Yeah.
That's 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, by that time, it's been almost 2 years since that time, the first time that happened to then. So I kind of, I knew he knew too.
Yeah.
We were getting married. So you say 4 months to get married, I had already made plans long before then. So it was just a matter of the day coming.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so how different is marriage now than where you guys imagined it 41 years ago?
That's a good question. Well, when you first get married, you have just small categories.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage can be broken up into a pie where you slice pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you realize that when you finally get married, that it's not just about the intimacy. This chick is fine. I mean, God, you realize there are other parts or components to the relationship, like, she's going to become a business partner. You're going to buy a home together. You're going to be co-parenting with her.
Mm-hmm.
So there are other parts of the relationship that you realize after you get married that you don't think about, because all you think about in the beginning is you're young and she's beautiful and you like, I'm going home with her.
Pastor Tony too. He loves the word and loves the things of God. So it's like he wants to do what he's reading and hearing. So we were going to do 2 different churches. So his church would have marriage ministries and marriage retreats. And he would go to all of them as a single person, preparing himself for marriage.
Wow.
And so when he did propose, he pulled out this list. He literally of things that he would do, not his expectations of me. As a husband, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You'll never have to do this. You're never going to have to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to treat you like a queen every day of your life. I mean, a list of all the things that he would do for me as a husband.
Okay, let her get it out.
I'm over here
let's continue this. I love it.
And so I'm listening to him. I mean, he went on and on and on. And I was like, it almost sounded like this is too good to be true. You are not going to do all these things. There's nobody that could ever do these things, all these things that he did. But he has, in 41 years, he's done everything he wants to live up to. If he makes a mistake, he's quick to correct it. Because this is what I said I would do
this
for you.
This turned into a masterclass.
Wow, I love it. I love it.
So you went and you didn't bring a list of what you were looking for. You brought a list of what you were going to deliver.
Exactly.
Based upon what you've picked up over years.
I love it.
And different. So you built a list that you presented and said, this is the package.
This is what you're going to get.
That's what's up.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it is. That's awesome.
That's impressive. And how fruitful would you say that has been or was in that moment?
It was great. I mean, obviously to hear that, it sounded wonderful. I mean, I didn't hold it over his head, so to speak. Like you said, I never had to do that at all. He would do it himself. Wow. So because he really wanted to be this husband that he felt like God was telling him that you should be. Even, I remember a friend of ours getting married like a month before us, and God began to speak to him about marriage. And he came back and he shared with me, God told me this is the kind of husband I should be to you. and all of this stuff. So I'm like, wow, this is great. Now, I never made any promises.
Now, if you wait for me to give you my list, were you expecting a list back?
He said, no, I didn't.
You weren't expecting a list back. You just came with a list. This is top shelf.
I love it.
No, but I think there's so much in that because that's countercultural, right?
Mm-hmm.
That right now, today, in most cases, that like what is navigating or even determining people, going further in a relationship, saying they're ready for marriage is not what they are bringing to serve one another.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They are bringing what they see each other building together.
That's right.
And the truth of the matter is, the reason why I always ask that question, obviously we're a living example of it.
Mm-hmm.
No way we ever thought when we got married, 14 years ago, that this would be where we would be.
Right.
And had I had put that on our like year 10 of our marriage, we're going to become senior pastors, she wouldn't have been my wife. She'd been like, you want to do what?
Well, I asked you.
Well,
remember?
That's actually one thing she actually asked me that. You're right.
Yeah, because before we were talking about marriage, I said, Bryan, would you ever want to be a pastor? And you said, absolutely not. I said, okay, good. Woo. So we're just going to serve.
I
literally said,
I have two older brothers and they love to talk more than
And
me.
That's what he said.
Like trust me, it had to go through both of them.
Yep. He said, before it gets
and
to
them
me.
brothers like to talk, so I don't see.
And I said, okay, cool. So we're good.
We're good. Now look. But saying that to also like, man, there's so much truth in that that I want to just easily step over it because it's very different.
Yeah.
I see even now young couples in our church that it's now those same lists that weren't about what they were going to bring and how they were going to serve, but it was about their dreams. They're points of condemnation.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So now they're looking back and saying, man, 3 years later, we haven't bought that house.
Right.
3 years later, we haven't started this business.
Yeah.
And this was the only things on their list.
Wow.
And now they're like, they can't embrace where they are.
Yeah.
They can't enjoy it because they painted these dreams.
High expectations. Yeah.
Was like, hey, but if y'all aren't serving each other, if y'all aren't there for each other, like them dreams is gonna be nightmares anyway.
and they had timelines on this dream. In 5 years we'll do this. In 10 years, and because it's not happening, it's causing a challenge in the marriage.
And our times are all over the place.
Yeah,
it's a different world.
Yeah, definitely,
definitely different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think for us, what made that so organic was our real pursuit for Him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You discover what God wants to be to you, and then you know what you can be for Him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In your relationships, in life.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's how that translated to me. Like, I was looking at Him and seeing who He is to me. And we would have those conversations where He would say to me things like, when you mess up, how did I treat you?
Mm-hmm.
And He said, when you get married, I want you to do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's
so
good.
The way that's what created that reality for me is I was really discovering who is this Jesus to Tony.
Yeah.
And that gave me the groundwork of who I could be for Jesus to her.
That's good.
And that's how I brought the list out of that. So my response was totally different. I was not looking outside of Him.
That's awesome.
So it made it was all organic. I wasn't.
Yeah. He would say stuff like that to me.
I'm over here like,
that's impressive. That's
like the day we got married, the preacher turns us around, faced the audience. He said, I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Brazelton, Tony Brazelton. And he turns and looks at me and he says, I feel like I just got born again.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, Lord.
Tell me how you felt.
I'm nervous to answer. I didn't know I was supposed to have thoughts.
He just says it out. I done passed it to you. Oh yeah, this is great.
I was
you didn't really say anything.
I was still trying to get over the little, because you wanted 5 points at the reception, and I was thinking 4 points is the budget.
Are you talking about the design?
I was thinking about
your mom saved you. Don't worry.
I was sitting there thinking about, man, all these folks is about to eat.
How much did we pay for all
I turned around, I looked, and I said, man, God, make it worth it. You know, that's what my mind was. You know,
we didn't do anything like the norm. You know, The night before we got married, we were together. That morning we got up, we were together.
Oh, wow.
He came and picked me up. We had breakfast. I was like, okay, then you go home, get dressed. I'll be going home and get dressed. I'll meet you at the church, you know.
Oh, wow.
And we get to the church. The flowers weren't there. We didn't know where his ring was. And we was like, we don't care. We're not marrying all that stuff. We just married each other. So we just,
right there.
you know, somehow I think his mother ended up with the ring. So we had everything together, but we didn't care about those things.
The traditional stuff.
We didn't at all.
Look at Pastor Tony.
I did not know.
No, I was marrying her.
I know that's
this
right.
is a master
I wasn't marrying a ring or anything.
Tell us more.
And you don't realize that all that until it's over. Like as time goes on, I'm like, man, all of that we spent for that one day.
Yeah. You know, the only thing I was in charge of was the hors d'oeuvres. You know, it still is talked about that the hors d'oeuvres waiting to go into the reception were top notch.
They did say it was good.
You know, but I definitely was a happy backseat driver through all those moments. But I do.
We spent no money on our wedding, did we?
You didn't spend no money on the wedding?
My dad paid for mostly everything. So we didn't spend a whole lot of money on the wedding itself. And everything that we wanted as gifts, we wrote a list down and presented it to God and believed for it.
Amen.
And we got everything on the list.
That is so cool. I love them.
Wait a minute.
I love them. They all right with me. My back pocket, I got it now.
Rewind the tape. This is another masterful moment.
It's okay.
So who brought that idea to the table?
I think we both did.
Brian, this is a special couple.
No, we really did.
It's turned into a masterclass.
It has.
So the thought was, we're going to write down what it is that we desire, but we're presenting this to God. And to God be the glory for all that comes.
Yeah. I mean, to the point, like we wanted 2 toasters. Not one, we wanted 2 because we wanted to give my mom one. So we said 2 toasters. I mean, we were very specific about what we want. We got 2 toasters and we got everything that.
But I think that's so incredible because even from the onset, just seeing God move through your marriage.
Yeah. See, you didn't hear the story. He's the God of the toilet paper. I mean, he gives you everything that you have need of.
I remember when Pastor Cynthia at a women's conference told us about her ring or it was something she lost.
My ring.
It was something and God had told her. She said it at the women's conference that she would say, Lord, Holy Spirit, show me where this is at. And when I lost my ring, I was like, I got to channel Pastor Cynthia. I kept asking. It still didn't show up, but I still believe in God for it.
We can pray right now before we go.
I don't know if I lost it or he lost it, but when I lost my wedding ring, I didn't get it back till it was almost like years later.
We receive it in the name of Jesus.
Yeah,
I lost mine.
It was years later. And it was the funniest thing because we were at the time, we moved out of our apartment, moved in with his parents, saved some money because we're going to move into a house. And so the room that we were staying in had a shag carpet. And so I don't know how many times I vacuumed that carpet so many times, cleaned the room so many times, never found the room. I said, Lord, you know, I really want my ring. And I mean, you can barely see the diamond in the ring, but I wanted my wedding ring.
Yeah.
And so we moved and everything. It was years later, maybe 3 years or 4 years later. We're in our home, everything. His brother comes over and said, I know y'all used to stay in the guest room. Did you lose this ring? 4 years later. I was like, wow. Oh my God.
Wow.
My ring.
Yes.
Look at God. Oh, God. We actually moved out of our house. It's up for sale. And I'm like, Lord, before we sell it, I just want to find ring.
Well, I believe God with you.
Amen.
You got with all y'all, me in the middle,
God with y'all.
all of us, it hit together with one accord.
Yes.
But no, I think it's so beautiful because you have, and I have heard, of course, you guys preach and tell many, many moments of God through your lives. But it's amazing to see the pieces even in the beginning, to seeing the story in the journey, because that is very different. You know, I think oftentimes people see people on a certain place, and we know that there has to be different things and different approaches that they're taking to their everyday lives. People just don't end up places. But to see some of those moments as you guys are getting married, walking into marriage, that is very different. That is very profound. And I believe it like sets a tone once you're getting married that I would love to see a lot of people have.
Absolutely.
Because people get married and through so much tension. And in the middle of so much disagreement. I'm surprised some of them make it to the altar.
Yeah, me too.
Because they're mad about what the dress turned out like. They're mad about what the reception looked like. They're mad about the family that didn't agree. They mad about everything. I'm surprised they make it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And then you look back and you realize like, wow, we were so caught up in so many moments that, man, it just wasn't worth the amount of time invested trying to fix things.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And so it's like
beautiful to hear the story that that God was, they just wanted to please God and do exactly what he said.
Yeah. And so now here we are, right? So now y'all have kids.
Yeah.
Just be kids again, laughing, holding hands, married